This is the Human First AI Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague at Avenue 9. You can find us at avenue9.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We help small businesses punch above their weight and market like big brands with the power of AI and a little authenticity as well. And my guest this week is Maryrose Lyons. She's from the AI Institute. She founded the AI Institute. They're at weareAIinstitute.com, helping businesses implement, adopt, and learn how to use AI, and specifically for productivity and stuff of like actual practical solutions, which I love, Maryrose. That's why you're on the show. But also, I should mention I was a guest on your podcast too. So if you want to give a shout out to your show, we can start there too.
Yay. Hey, thank you for having me on, Mike. I'm honored to be here. It's definitely a career highlight of the month to be with you here on Human First AI Marketing Show.
Amazing. And it was fun to be on your show. We had a great conversation. If you couldn't tell already, Maryrose is from Ireland too. So we're both wearing green to celebrate. And this is our post St. Patrick's Day episode. I think I was actually on your show on St. Patrick's Day, or very close, but
it's coming up to it. Yes. Yeah.
This is our recumbent celebration 3 months later. Okay. Let's get into it, because I wanted to talk to you about learning about AI, because I find this very interesting. One of my youths in my network asked me if like AI certificates were any good, or like what college courses they should take. And I was like, man, I really kind of feel like you better be getting something that's cutting edge, or just ask ChatGPT what you should learn today. And like by the time a university gets a certificate out, like it might be all old stuff. But I know at the AI Institute, you're probably fighting both of these things, trying to keep everything current and all the rollouts going, but also like a lot of people still starting at the foundation. They don't know anything about it. They've only, asked it a couple of questions so far. So how do you balance that in your world?
Well, it's a very good question to start off with. Well, one of the best decisions I made early on was that all of our training is delivered live with a human. So it's all live, it's all online. So it's none of this kind of pre-record stuff, because as you and I know, you would literally just spend your whole time in a studio updating whatever you had recorded last week, because the pace of change is so fast. So that was one of my better decisions, I have to say. So in terms of the kind of people we have training for us, when you mentioned about universities, one of our trainers, our course instructors, he's a 14-year tenured university lecturer from the UK, who basically became so frustrated that his university was doing absolutely nothing in the area of AI. And even though his subject was, I think, ancient Chinese history, shout out to Toby Lincoln, he was just like, I can't stay on here. I feel like there's a world going on outside my door. So he's quit, and now he's with us. So we have someone like him, other course instructors we have, and we've got a great guy called James Cusson. And if you're into philosophy, you might know him, because he's a famous YouTuber in the area of philosophy. But he also is an extremely brainiac guy who went really deep with Claude Code as soon as it was invented. So he's our Claude Code instructor. So we have great people. We are always updating. I literally only put a post out on LinkedIn, I think last week, and I was saying, if you're shopping for Copilot training, ask your course delivery people, have they updated for co-work? Because co-work from Claude is now in Copilot. I find it very hard to say all the codes. So like university courses, they're just not going to have that yet. Like they just won't be there, because they're going through iterations of approvals.
I'd love to ask you about the state of the learner too, because I think the state of the courses is very interesting. Like you said, it's a hard challenge. I love that you're doing it live. The other thing though is like the learners, when I've been teaching technology for like, I don't know, 20, 30 years now. And when I was teaching LinkedIn at first, it's like, oh, I learned really fast. There's some people that like can't even set up their profile. They don't understand uploading a picture or or filling it out. And there's other people that are like using it all the time. They're on Sales Navigator, they're doing outreach, like they're
Yeah.
posting, and they want advanced tactics. And it's hard when people get in the same room. But my question for you is, where's the state of the learner these days? Because I still see people that are like, my experience with Copilot is trying to turn it off when they keep installing it on all my applications.
Well, I think it's a
And
very good question, actually, because Emma, who's our head of course development, she speaks a lot about, teaching for range, because, we have specialized courses. So, the Claude Code and Co-work course that we just launched, it's now into its second iteration. That is definitely for your more advanced AI user. You don't have to be an advanced Claude Code user, but definitely with AI. But most of our courses, they start from the beginning assuming zero knowledge. But because AI is so exciting, even when you have someone, say like yourself, in the room, I guarantee you that you would pick up something from the very first module of one of the courses with us. So everything's very hands-on. So what we find is that we're quite good at kind of like, we're answering the questions for the people who are, click left in the corner for adding a new, conversation or starting a new prompt. Whereas people like you would be, okay, why don't you open up settings, and we'll get them moving ahead. So our trainers are brilliant at that. But I think that the kind of learners we have, it's really interesting. We have, like, I sort of put it as dreamers, believers, soldiers, and cynics when we're dealing with corporate. So public courses, they're all self-employed people. They're all like dying to learn, and it's really inspiring. But with the corporates, they don't always in the group want to learn. And there's a lot of fear around jobs, and there's a lot of fear, and, media has done a very good job. And what we find is that really because we teach out use cases, like our training is all, it's not like these are the features of Copilot. It's more like, so you're a finance team in an architect's practice. These are the kind of things you're probably doing all the time. And then we show them how to do those things augmented with AI, using all their own example files and everything like that. They go from the dreamers and believers start getting really fast, thinking about how they're going to do more and more. The soldiers just go, I get it. And they're going to do it. But that when you go back in 6 or 12 months' time, they'll be doing it in exactly the same way. Like, they won't have changed. The dreamers and believers
kept going
ahead. Yeah. And then the cynics, I love the cynics. So the cynics usually start off with their arms folded, and they usually ask a couple of questions about, what about hallucinations? And, who owns this data? And those kind of questions, which we answer, as honestly as we can.
They're good questions. Yeah.
They're brilliant questions. And I then also love to show, I go, here's a good thing on bias. Let me show you. And I show them how age biased visual tools are. But then what happens is that when they start to see their own job being performed in front of them in a way that they can do themselves, and you start saying, so when would you normally start this? Oh, it's an end of month report. Well, we can't really start it until like the first or the second of the month. Okay, and how long would it take you? Maybe 4 to 6 hours. Okay, now you're going to try it. And let's just, what am I going to try it now? Yeah, just do it in session. And they can do it in session in like 15, 20 minutes. That's when their eyes light up and they start computing about all the other tasks that they can do in this way. And then you've won them over. So I kind of call it's less like training. It's more like showing around.
Yeah, I think I was talking with another AI expert last week, and I said really kind of the openness to experiment and sort of not being intimidated are the biggest things in learning AI, because if you can really just kind of stay calm, try some stuff, find out what works, what doesn't work, and then have the patience to kind of fight back and forth with it. That's one of my biggest lessons for creating content, which is my specialty, is like, don't ask AI to just write a book for you and write a creative novel. It's not designed for that. But if you say, help me brainstorm some ideas and topics, and then give me 10 ideas for a title, and then what would the subtitle be? And then, what are ideas for chapters? And then once you got this chapter, what would the first 2 paragraphs look like? And you're building iteratively over that. Then you can kind of keep course correcting and adding ideas and polishing as you go. Like, that's kind of the way for me to learn, but also to make really good stuff with AI?
So I would take your approach, Mike, which I think is great. I think that's it's chunking it down. And what I love about Claude Code and Cowork is it allows you to go that step on. So if I were writing a book like that or a novel, I would create a number of sub agents, which would be little
Mm.
personas that I might want to kind of critique this. So you might have someone who's critiquing it from a very sort of, you know, the mom test kind of way. Oh my God, darling, that's great. You know, up goes to your confidence.
Yeah,
And
tell
then
me
you
how
might
good
have,
this book is.
oh, I think it's fantastic. You got that from me. That's what my mother always says for all my good things. But then you'd have also maybe someone critiquing it from a point of view of maybe English isn't their first language, somebody critiquing it from a point of view of like, I need to sell this book, it's got to sell. So you could create all of these different sub agents. And then what I love about Claude Code is that once you create the sub agents, you can drop your one script in, and you can get all of the sub agents to work reading the one script at the same time
Yeah.
and produce their own little reports. And then you might get your editor agent to edit what they have to say and then give you back some really good feedback.
Yeah,
That's where you can go
I
from
love
0
it.
to
You
60.
reminded me that when I published my book, Playful Humans,
Oh, good.
I uploaded the text to ChatGPT and I said, I want you to roast this book. If somebody doesn't like it, like what's the worst possible review I could get? Because before I hit publish on Amazon, I wanted to like mentally prepare myself for like what happens if somebody doesn't like it. I have
Sure.
a very high need for approval. So it
We all do.
started spitting out like paragraphs. And I was like, oh, and I stepped away from the computer for a second. And I was like, all right, do you want to know this? Do you want to read it? And I had to like take a second. And I was like, I do. I want to hear what the negative feedback is. So I sat down and read it and I was like, oh, you know what? This is great. Anybody that says that doesn't get it. They're not my ideal audience. They're just
Mhm.
never going to get it. That's not what it's about. And this book is not for them. So I'm fine. And then I was able to
Mhm.
hit publish confidently and stuff. And I'm with you. Other times I just need like, hey, I'm not feeling great about this, and my confidence on this piece is not good. Tell me 5 reasons why it's great or unique, or how I use
Yeah.
ChatGPT differently than somebody else's one that I asked that I thought was really cool. And those types of feedback can be great and help get you out of that confirmation bias that I
Oh,
think all
yeah.
these
Well, that's the
agents are
first thing we
designed
train.
for by default, right?
Well, it's funny, in our very first week, okay, we do an awful lot on personalization, and we do an awful lot about avoid sycophancy. So basically, we get people to train their models into, I only want to get answers that are meaningful and relevant. I don't want to be told I'm great all the time,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera. Because it's really important, like that everybody, whether you're a kind of a coder or a medical person or a marketer, that you're experiencing it in the way that you should.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, we've been doing some of the basics stuff here too, but I know, like I said, the other side of that coin is really crazy advanced stuff. And you've been talking to a lot of experts, also the people that created the Gindex,
Oh,
which
yeah.
made national news a couple of months ago, where they had AI call all the pubs in Ireland and ask how much they're selling Guinness for, so that they could find out where to get the cheapest pint, kind of like a gas buddy.
They
And
did
I
it for
love this.
gas. They did it for gas
Yeah.
in the States as well. It was really good. They got the price of gas in petrol stations, or I call them petrol stations, gas stations.
Yeah, it's not stopping it from going up at the moment, thanks to other things
Oh,
going on in
God.
the world. But those types of applications are really cool because I think it promotes what I talk about here on the Human First show is it's ways to make the human life better. Like, hey, a
Mm.
human does not want to call every pub in Ireland and find out the price of Guinness. But if we can have an AI do that, and then the human just gets to go to the closest pub and
And
enjoy the drink,
split the G.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
All
Yeah.
of our lives just got better because we added a little AI
Well,
to it,
Mike,
right?
I'll tell you, my God, my life got better after interviewing those guys because we do a piece of research every year now called the AI Adoption Report, and we interview leaders in built environment companies to ask them how they're doing on their AI adoption, because we kind of specialize in built environment sectors. That's like architects, engineers, construction, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And last year, when I say that I felt like I was doing another master's, it was so much work. Now, really interesting, but it
Yeah.
took a huge amount of my time and my headspace. So after I'd interviewed the guys on my podcast, Chatting GPT, I basically said to them, because I got them on, I wanted to find out how they did it. I was interested in the process. And incidentally, how they did it was they used Google Maps for a list of all the pubs.
Mhm.
And then they added in 11 labs for voice, Twilio
Right.
to do the calls, and Claude Code to analyze everything. And they basically did that. So I kind of said to them, would you be able to do that, but calling up like leaders from built environment companies in the UK and Ireland? And they said yes. And because they can, I'm now able to extend our research into the US, because I've been dying to see, where does the US adoption in that sector land? And what are you guys doing differently to the UK and Ireland, and all
Yeah.
of those kind of amazing insights? So we're actually just about to kick off. My voice has been cloned, and we are about to kick off with voice activated interviews starting next week. So if anyone's listening, and if you'd like to take part, we would love to have you on if you're in the built environment.
Yeah, you know that I am in for sure, and I think a lot of other people listening will be too. I'm curious about some of your results. I know you don't have this year's study
Mhm.
yet, but what have you learned about AI adoption so far inside of companies? We're seeing a little bit of a
Yeah,
turn this summer where people are booing a mention of AI at college graduations, and some companies now are saying, "Hey, we're spending more on tokens than we were for the people to actually do this work.
yeah.
Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit." And so I feel like this is maybe that dip, and not the bubble bursting, but just that little adoption dip where it's like the first time you see it and all the early adopters are on there. And now we're trying to get the middle of the pack, and it's going to be a little bit tougher. What's your take on it though?
I see it as being, I suppose, what came to my mind when you were describing those two
Yeah.
instances. I was thinking, well, the whole rollout of AI is like everything everywhere always at once. It's every single sector, it's every
Yeah.
across the line, it's every road, it's everywhere, every country, everywhere. So
Every
of
job. Yeah.
course, what you described are those kind of flashpoints of let's say negative activity with it. What I know to be true is that, and I'll tell you about some of the results from last year's report, which were really interesting. But what I know to be true is that the companies that did very deep training with us 2 years ago,
Mm.
they have already gone ahead. They now have hired in-house AI program leads, AI heads of AI. Like they have got an AI team in-house to support all the different
Yeah.
programs they have going on, and also to kind of manage governance a bit, because we haven't really started thinking that one through yet. Like, how do you govern a company when everybody's building agents, and what if that person leaves, and so on? So that's that big gap that's already there. But I also know that from the kind of companies who come and take training with us even now, like say even in the last 6 months, they take the training, they get really prolific or proficient in, say, Copilot or whatever their tool of choice is. And then one of the things we offer at the end of training is this thing called a use case workshop. So it's basically gathering up all of the wild and crazy ideas that came up from their staff, in terms of what else they could do with it. And then we run these workshops and we kind of help them look at the ideas through different lenses, and we give them a kind of a roadmap at the end of, these are the ones that are worth doing, these are the ones you can do yourself, these are the ones you need a bit of help with, and these ones just outsource to us, we'll build them for you. And when I tell you that nobody does those workshops and says, okay, thanks a million, we'll just shelve that one. Oh, maybe AI is getting a bit expensive, we'll just leave it till next year when we've more budget. No, they are all
Right.
going, okay, how many agents can we have? So one of my problems at the moment is I have people coming to me saying, I heard you're the ones that build the agents. And I'm like, yeah. And then, can you build us an agent? And I'm like, well, we kind of need to do a little bit of discovery first. People just want you to build agents. Why is this? Because
Yeah.
in the sector that we're going after, there's so much. There is, just as this sector has evolved, let's say since the 1990s, let's say since internet and everything, there are so many processes that were never really thought through, that are really time consuming,
Yeah.
administrative heavy. And we're coming in saying, we can actually take away a little bit of this, and then you take these really highly qualified engineers or architects and let them actually be engineers, or let them be architects. And that's what we're
Yeah.
seeing. Nobody's saying, oh, no, thanks, I don't want to do anything. And I can only say, like, even in my own company, I set out at the start of this year, and the plan was I wanted to build one agent in every part, every kind of pillar of the business by the end of the year. And we're now halfway through the year. And I've built, now not I on my own, obviously my team, we have built
Right. Yeah.
more than one agent. Like we have several iterations of agents in all parts of the business, because once you do it, and then you get this joy of, oh, we don't have to do that anymore. And, the staff that used to do all the manual onboarding, they're now doing other better stuff. Like they're doing stuff on the podcast, they're doing higher quality
Yeah.
work. So, I can only say what I've experienced is good.
I think you made an interesting point in there, which is that like the people saying that are kind of the laggards and the ones not using them. There's not too many people who are aware of everything that AI can do and just says, hard pass. No, no thanks. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I call that career suicide.
Yeah. And I get why some people would, right? We've talked a lot about this so far. There's a lot of reasons to be intimidated and scared. There's been a lot of hype around jobs so far. They're saying that there's been no effect in jobs in the US so far, 3 years in. And now even Sam Altman and people are kind of rolling back that job loss apocalypse thing, partly because of the pushback, I think, and political reasons, but also because it's not true. Like I always use sales and marketing, my background, as the example here of like, I've never met an owner where they were like, oh, we can get we want the exact same sales and marketing, we just want it cheaper and faster. They're like, no, if it's cheaper, we want 10 times as much,
more of it.
We want 10 times more leads and 10 times more sales. We're not just going to lay people off and be like, we're good where we're at.
And then you have to manage, you have to manage the agents as well. But all these kind of new roles, like you have to manage the agents. So for example, I'm just about to hire a graduate who is he's got a master's in data science. He's brilliant. And his job is going to be, because we are kind of beginning to sort of scale our agents ourselves, I need someone who's going to look after the whole managing the agents bit. And even sort of like, we've a lot of demand from within the company as to which should be the next one. So it's like a bit of kind of, managing the expectations of which agent is going to be built next. And that's a new role that wasn't invented last year,
I heard a great stat on that. And that's the hard part for young people graduating college now. They'll have like up to like 7 to 9 different careers in their life. And like 6 of those have not been invented yet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy, but it makes sense if you're an older person. For me, I went into radio because podcasting was not a thing, right? So when I graduated college, podcasting didn't exist, and like neither did a lot of AI marketing and other stuff that I do now as a regular thing. So I think that's kind of the adjustment that everybody needs to make, is that there will be jobs, they're just going to be different jobs, or the work of your job is going to be different. I mean, think about in the 50s, how many people were employed just shuffling paper and filing and all of that kind of stuff. And now nobody does those jobs anymore, and they're fine. True. They all still have jobs. It's just not doing.
Well, we do those jobs. This is the thing, though. I think like we do those jobs. So we don't all have secretaries, because we all do our own typing. And one thing I'm really aware of is that like I am not working less. I am working probably more, but I'm doing 4x. Like I might be working 2x, but I'm producing 4, 5, 6x maybe, because I'm doing. So a lot of the jobs that maybe I might have had done by a graphic designer, well, I can do that bit myself now. Yeah. They call it, there's a term for it. It's like kind of role creep or something like that, where like engineers.
You gotta be careful about that.
Yeah, but you see, and then sales become marketers and stuff. But then again, like I still do have a graphic designer working for me, but she'll be designing our fabulous AI adoption report, and I'll put all my money into a really good looking design for that. Whereas I'm not getting her to knock out images for LinkedIn anymore, because I can do that myself.
Yeah, I think there, and this is where I play a lot. You mentioned 2 things there that got my attention. One is you can now market to one person and you can sell to many. And so the roles of sales and marketing are really kind of converging. And there's still different skill sets though, which I think a lot of people mess up. The second thing you said is kind of just because you can do graphic design or you can do a little marketing or sales yourself or with AI doesn't mean you should. Like that's a big
Hmm.
strategic discussion you need to have, especially
Yeah.
if you're a CEO or you're trying to scale the business. Like, don't spend all day trying to vibe code a PowerPoint. Like, pass that off to somebody on your team and go work on the business instead of in it.
Well,
And
on the
it's
vibe
really hard
coding
sometimes.
thing, the vibe
Yeah,
coding thing, like I have to say, I was at Dublin Tech Summit, which is this big kind of tech conference thing that happens in Dublin every year. I was at that there the other week, and there was a lot of there's a lot of startups there. Now I'm a startup as well, and the amount of vibe coded websites that were done, whereby they all looked sort of quite the same.
yes,
They weren't fully finished. There was lots of broken links, and I'd be kind of, my background is obviously UX, web design, digital marketing. I'd be looking at that kind of thing going, you're a kind of a financial site and you don't have an accurate site yourself. I don't know if I trust you with my money. So like
right.
the vibe coding revolution, I think, is contributing to a lot of poor quality slop. When I started my own business, first thing I spent my own money on was brand,
Yeah,
because as a marketer, I know how important brand is. And I thought, like, no AI is going to create my brand. A
yeah.
human that I really trust who does great brand is going to do my brand. And I'm so glad I spent that money, because it really
You nailed
sounds.
it 100%
Mm,
right there. Because what I've kind of been saying is, I'd say I'd give AI like a C minus right now for most of the marketing that it creates, which is not bad. If you're thinking it's like 50 percentile, half of the businesses probably have worse marketing than AI
yes.
could create for them. So if you're a small business and you're trying to scale and bootstrap, great, get AI to help you. And a C minus is better than an F.
Or
In
nothing at all.
whatever website or no
Yeah,
website at
yeah,
all,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
A vibe coded one is better than no website at all. But if you have A level or you need to be A level in brand or website or customer experience or data protection and security, you can't just vibe code that.
No,
You're going to get a C minus. So I think strategically as a leader, you really have to decide where are our grades in each of these departments. And if we're currently getting an F in accounting, then maybe we get some AI help and we get some agents to turn this around faster or do something.
exactly.
Right? I think it's a
No, I
fun way to
totally agree.
think about it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Hmm.
All right, now my last question for you is the fun one. What sci-fi movie do you think we end up in like 30 years from now, or how do you think this all
Ooh.
plays out? Are we all jobless and we just sit back and watch our agents make us money, or what does the world look like in 30 years in your mind?
Well, when you said sci-fi movie, what immediately came to my mind was Hail Mary. Was it? I just
Fun.
watched it. Ah, it was such a good film. Is it Hail Mary? You know, the one with Ryan
Yeah, I
Gosling.
listened to the book and I love that
The
author. He's great.
soundtrack is amazing as well. Oh wow! So I wouldn't mind being in that sci-fi movie, because what I liked about that sci-fi movie, and I'll talk about the job scene in a moment, but on the
Yeah,
movie question, I just loved the fact that, like, I wouldn't be a real sci-fi movie kind of gal, kind of thing, because it's always a real alpha male kind of lead character who's saving the world, and there's spaceships, and it's very like, I don't dig Star Wars really at all.
yeah,
Whereas with that, you had spaceships. I know I've said that live. You had spaceships, but it was a very human kind of uh, character. He wasn't a real alpha. He made
yeah,
mistakes. He was scared, and he made a little friend with a little entity. And I kind of see that as a future. There's a pandemic of loneliness, and
yeah.
we are the AI generation. As we're getting older, we'll be talking to our little AI entities, perhaps. But
I
then in
think so.
terms of,
Along those lines, I
mm,
think the movie Her was very
oh
interesting because
yes,
it kind of feels like that's where we're going of like we
that's
can really get some
very
true
close.
companionship from it, but
Mm,
is it going to get companionship from us? Like, are we even interesting to something that becomes super intelligent?
I read a really good article. I was talking about like economy 2.0, and was saying that basically to the AI, we're like battery chickens. We're like of no interest. I was like, really?
Yeah,
We'll
I think
use
the
it
bandwidth
until it
is
uses us.
really interesting. I think we're still interesting for humans. So I'll give you one last shot at it. And you can also, tie this into the AI Institute if you'd like. But where do you think jobs go? And you don't have to do 30 years. In the next 3 to 5 years, what do you think the key changes are in the job market and skills that we need to succeed?
I think that what we train out actually on is that the sooner people realize that your job, you're not just the worker in the company, you are the CEO of your own role. So when you come in the morning, you need to check and see what all of your little agents or the people or the things that are reporting to you have done overnight, because they will have been working overnight. And then you must think strategically about, okay, my job role is to deliver on X. Okay, this agent, I'm going to work on that for a little bit today and I'm going to fine tune it. So this is the way we work. So if somebody gives you a task to do in your job now, the way you might approach it might be, okay, I'm going to open up PowerPoint and just get straight into it like the way I've always done. Whereas stop. We say stop. We say have a think about, what am I being asked to do? How can I do the best possible job of this? What information would I need in an ideal world? So you grab all your data together that you might have. If you don't have the data, run a deep research report on Gemini or Perplexity and get a really good piece of information. And then you're going to write the most stunning prompt using that information to produce the output. That whole exercise takes about 15 minutes and it's going to give you a far better quality result than what you've been doing by going straight into the work. So a lot of people talk about, I'm being very long-winded here, Mike, sorry. A lot of people talk about time saved and productivity enhancement and so on. Yeah, that's great. But actually, when you're using AI correctly in the way we show how in the AI Institute, is that you're actually going to be producing better work. You're going to be producing better work. If you're into your job, you're a happier human. So it's kind of all good.
Yeah, I love it. I think there's a lot of good reasons to jump in there. And I think you're talking about a lot of stuff that is right on that a lot of people miss, like the context engineering. And just because AI knows everything doesn't mean it knows it by default or in the context you're asking. And so like it can get access to the research, but it's not necessarily just going to pull that up if you ask a basic entry level question. It's a weird thing that I don't think most people know how AI works, which means they need to go to find out. We are
find out
AI
at the
Institute.
weareAIinstitute.com. Yes, we'd love to see
and
you.
Follow Maryrose Lyons on LinkedIn as well. A great follow there. And her podcast. You can go check out my episode or any others. Chatting GPT.
Chatting
is a great
GPT.
name for a podcast.
Thank you. Available on Apple or Spotify.
How else can we help you or you help us? Anything you want to add there?
You've made my day by having me on your show, and thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And again, I'm Mike Montague at Avenue 9. You can find us at avenue9.com. One of the things we help you do is tell what we call scalable stories. So I'll interview your founder, your top salesperson, your best customers, or vendor partners and referral relationships, and get that story that then we can use AI to repurpose and create a month's worth of marketing content for, and great custom instructions for your GPTs and your agents to know exactly what you're about. And so it stays on brand and doesn't drift. If that sounds like something that's fun for you or you want to explore it more, go to avenue9.com. Until next time, keep going, everybody.